Hello, book person. I am another book person. Welcome back to my channel. I used to live somewhere in California where it snowed around this time of year, and now I'm back in San Francisco and it doesn't snow anymore. And I don't know if I feel the Christmas vibes. Are you feeling the Christmas vibes? I hope so, because it's a good time, In the middle of this impending feeling of doom and probably one of the worst karmic years we've experienced in a really long time since 2020, I am ready to say goodbye to 2025. But I figured I couldn't say goodbye to 2025 without recording one of the internet's most favorite video style, which is videos where people talk shit about book talk. I didn't want to necessarily make a video exactly like the first one that I posted. If you've seen this one before, I went through Instagram's hot takes about book talk in general, and there were a lot of interesting things to discuss there. But like TikTok, Instagram is a broken record. So I thought that there was no better place for me to look for new opinions for us to hash it out than Reddit. People on Reddit are brutal, honest, and mean sometimes, most of the time. 99% of the time. Not as mean as TikTok though, I will give them that. They are level-headed, usually an older crowd, I feel. I don't know, I might be wrong. Am I wrong? I don't know the age percentage around Reddit users. The people on Reddit are job hunting and solving relationship issues and asking if they're the asshole for something they did or said or an opinion they expressed. Reddit is it's a wonderful place, I would say. I only just recently started using Reddit because I'm a gamer and I feel like the gaming community on Reddit is pretty strong. And I know that a lot of people get their book recommendations on Reddit too, because I keep getting recommended Reddit channels of like romantasy and book talk and fantasy and romance and whatever. So let me know down below if you think that Reddit is a good place to find book recommendations, because like I expressed it before, I don't believe that Instagram is that spot anymore. And maybe Instagram is not the place for me to find book recommendations anymore because of my algorithm and it's my own damn fault. But regardless, I haven't been successful, and the only things that get pushed to me on my algorithm is people talking about Quicksilver or Fourth Wing, stuff that I know I'm not gonna enjoy, and I feel like I have to dig through a lot of videos to find one person talking about a thriller book that it's not sponsored. I'm trying to find a way to reset my algorithm and maybe have people sent my way that are actually reading books out of what's mainstreamly popular, I would say, but it's harder than I thought. So I mentioned this multiple times before. I am a retired bookstagrammer. I don't post on Bookstagram anymore, and I decided to move all my content here to YouTube. And talking shit about book talk in the book communities in general and the state of the industry in general is something that we love to do. Those are the videos that do well on YouTube, those are the videos that do well on Instagram, and those are the videos that do well on TikTok. I say this a lot, but deep down inside, we're all hateful little creatures who love complaining and arguing and debating all the things that we hate. I think hate unites us even more than love ever will, which is a scary and an unfortunate notion. But I do feel like most of my best friends, like people that I am really close with today, we only became friends because we hated the same things and not because we loved the same things. Loving the same things wasn't even a prerequisite. We just had to hate the same people or be annoyed by the same things or just be outraged by the exact same things. And I feel like this is it. This is the community that we have now, I guess. So let's get started, shall we? I selected quite a few strong/brutal opinions on Reddit from a Reddit post, but the ones that I selected were the ones that I thought I had an opinion to give on, to say if I agree or disagree, and feel free to do the same down in the comments below, respectfully. If you agree or disagree with any of my takes or these people takes, just make sure to not take any of this too seriously, okay? We're just hashing the shit here. We're friends. We're sitting around at a table with a cup of tea or maybe a couple of beers or maybe a bottle of wine, and we're just having fun. So let's go have some fun. I did screenshot these a while ago. I don't remember all of them, so this is basically my first reaction to these people's opinions. So I am making this as genuine as I can make it, okay? I swear. Flimsy Brick 9426 says, book talk was a mistake in general. Just because you're popular doesn't make you king of book recommendations or a writer. I know that people don't like when we say book talk was a mistake in general, because I have shared this opinion multiple times before. Book talk generated thousands of jobs. BookTok brought Barnes& Noble out of bankruptcy. Like they were about to go bankrupt in 2015 or 2016, and the pandemic hit, and then everyone picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses, and all of a sudden now Barnes& Noble is buying every indie bookstore they can lay their hands on, which is terrifying. But we resuscitated this billionaire somehow. I don't even know who owns Barnes& Noble. I'm going to do some research and put it over here. And we gave them a second chance to go and destroy small businesses all over the country. So, you know, book content creators can make a full-time living now on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. And of course, all of that existed before BookTok. I feel like BookTok kind of pushed all of these books to get movie deals and all of these indie authors to become published authors. We just opened this Narnia closet of opportunities because of BookTok. So I'll never say that BookTok was a mistake, but I don't disagree with that statement either. I think that the reason they're saying it was a mistake is because apparently it made a lot of people popular, and also because everyone now thinks they can be a writer, and I don't disagree with that either. We also made an entire video on this channel talking about how Haley Fan got a massive book deal and had thousands and thousands of sales just because of the amount of followers she had. So people who have a lot of followers are being presented on a platter these book deals, and the people who have been writing since they were very young are having a hard time getting through the door. So yes, I do understand that resentment. It kind of comes from a place of injustice, like, hey, you're only getting this book deal to publish this shitty ass book that's not even going to get more than 3 rounds of editing because you managed to hit, you know, 1 million followers on TikTok or 1 million followers on YouTube, and I've been at this my entire life, and my manuscript is probably never going to see the light of day. So do I think these people are just petty and jealous and insecure and, you know, just complaining about BookTok for no reason? No, I think that they have a point, especially when the books that are most popular now, the mainstream stuff that is taking the spotlight away from more diverse authors, or authors who are actually good at writing, or authors who have, you know, a little bit a more solid background, or maybe an English lit degree or something like that. It's taken away the spotlight from people who probably could be doing a better job. But then again, that's life, right? We learn from a very young age that nepotism gets you places and that life is unfair. And I feel like sometimes people just throw and concentrate all their rage on BookTok because, you know, there are so many things around us that are already as unfair as they can possibly be. I did not read Quicksilver because I knew I was going to hate it. But I think that the follow-up to this book, book 2 of this series, just came out recently. And I saw so many videos of people online saying, this is ridiculous. You guys are pushing these authors to write these sequels as fast as you possibly can. And they found so many spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes, and the book was disgusting. It was hard to read. It was hard to pay attention to. It was really bad. It was really inconsistent. And then I even saw someone share a screenshot of a lot of continuity errors on the book, which is something that is really easy to pinpoint if you read a lot, which is basically like someone taking off their shirt twice, or someone's eyes being green on page 1 and then brown again and then green again. The only thing that shows is that, yes, these books are being rushed, and these books are not going through enough rounds of editing, or the people who are editing them are just really shitty at their job. You have one job. Polishing a book used to be a big deal. Releasing a book with no continuity mistakes or grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, it is the most basic requirement of publishing a book anywhere in the world. So it is frustrating when you look at that and you need to find someone to blame, and you blame BookTok, but we should honestly be blaming capitalism as a whole. We resuscitated Barnes & Noble, and now we're dealing with the fallout of resuscitating Barnes & Noble. Okay, there's nothing I can tell you. They wanted money then, they want money now, and I don't know if I have hopes for 2026. I want to have hopes that things will improve in 2026. But I just kind of put that responsibility back on me. I have to do a better job at finding better written books. I have to do a better job at uplifting authors who are working hard, and authors who show me through the effort and time and editing process that they're putting their books through, either indie or publish. You know, I promised myself that in 2026, I am going to do solid research on all the novels that I'm reading, and I'm going to try to find novels to read that are outside of what's popular. I'm gonna try to find all the underdogs because I love an underdog, and I am going to just do my best uplifting the novels that are being edited correctly. Publishing companies that are putting solid time into baking those books. And that's all I can do. So that's a hopeful message there for you. Let's get to the next one, shall we? This is by Independent Problem 35. Some of the popular romantasy books are just erotica, and it's okay to admit that. If all of the books you read are the same genre and or by certain demographic of authors, usually unintentionally, you're limiting yourself. There's a reason why you feel like the books you read are all the same, and it's because you won't branch out from what you know. I generally find it concerning that some of the books book talkers claim are the best book they've ever read are so bad. This isn't a subjective, the pacing was too fast for me way, or I'm not a fan of this trope way, but in an objective, this was an adult book written at a young adult reading level and has a myriad of plot holes way that makes me question how they gained their platform in the first place. Whew. Okay, so there's a lot to cover here. First of all, I will have to agree with her first statement. The problem that I have with what's coming out right now is that the plot revolves around the two characters being able to fuck. Even if the author attempts some world building, and even if the author attempts to put dragons in the background, the female main character, the only thing she worries about, the only thing she thinks about is how hot the other guy is, or how big his dick is, or how good he might be in bed. There is nothing else going on through their little heads. And as an adult woman, I don't think about sex 24 hours a day. I don't know about you guys, but I honestly don't. And when I'm reading what is supposed to be a fantasy novel, I want to understand the world. I want to understand the character that I'm following. And I need this character to have one single brain cell that works for something else around her. If your goal for your romantasy novel is to get these two characters from point A to point B, and point B being that they're finally together in love and get married and have kids, that's great. You do you. That's not the problem. It's in the title, right? It's romance with, fantasy elements around it. But the problem is that the ratio of sex scenes per novel is increasing. But even if it wasn't increasing, the amount of times the characters either think or talk about sex. The dialogues are extremely cringy. It's like you're reading a bad porno movie where the guy comes to deliver some pizza and then they end up fucking on the couch. The female main characters lack any sort of personality. They lack any sort of goal. Most of their goal is to get into the male main character's pants at some point and vice versa. I remember reading Fourth Wing for the first time. People call Fourth Wing an enemies to lovers novel, but by page 12, she was like,
"He's so hot and so annoying. I hate how hot and annoying he is. I can't believe he's so hot and so annoying and my enemy, but he's so hot."
In my head, I wasn't reading a fantasy novel. I was reading a book written by an LA Valley girl who melted half of her brain on Molly and just couldn't, for the life of her, just have one single complex thought. So that is when the erotica inside of these fantasy worlds that people think that they are constructing well, when they're not really, the excessive erotica in those novels dumbs down the female main character, and it cuts any sort of sympathy that I could have for them. I can't relate to these female main characters. I just feel so insanely stupid for these two characters to be in a world where everything is supposedly on fire, where there are dragons around you, where people are fighting, where the country is at war, and the female main character is sitting there wondering when she's gonna have sex next. And I really, really dislike that. And like she said, if you enjoy reading erotica and you want erotica just for the sake of erotica, there is nothing wrong with that. You do you. I feel like there is this resistance from the romantasy community to admit it. To admit that we just want the brain rot. We just want the erotica, and it's okay to just want the erotica. But don't say that it's a masterpiece of a book or the best book you've ever read in your life when it really does only have, Wattpad young adult level writing like this person stated, which I also agree with. The reason these books are so popular is because they're easy to get through, they're really easy to read, they're not super complex, and that is fine. That's great. That's the kind of material that gets people into reading that never read before. I myself have made this mistake multiple times. Like this person mentioned, it is your fault if you think that the novels that you're reading are all repetitive because you're only reading within this bubble and you're not trying to look for other things. The problem is that when you're a book content creator, you feel left out. Everyone is reading the bubble and everyone is loving the bubble. And then I always stumble upon a video of someone saying, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever read in my life." And then I pick up the book and it's like, what? this is the best thing you've ever read in your life. Like, I want to interact with the community that I have around me, and I want to read what other people are reading. Fucking sue me, okay? I get targeted by these videos, and then I see someone saying, this romantasy is it. This is it. Finally arrived at the peak of romantasy. Who is Sarah J. Maas? I don't know. This is the best book I've ever read. And then you pick up the book, and it's either Fourth Wing or Quicksilver, and then there's a line in Quicksilver when the male main character calls the girl a bitch in heat or something, and you're like, I did learn my lesson. I can't pick up romantasy. Because if I keep reading romantasy, I'm going to keep complaining about the same things, and it's my fault. And I should be reading other things, and I should be trying to escape from this bubble and remove myself from this bubble to find quality written content, which I'm sure there is a lot of it out there. 2026 is a year where I'm going to put solid effort into finding fantasy with romance as a subplot where the characters are actually well written, because I know they're out there. And if you have recommendations, drop them down below. Just one more moment said. Influencers who buy like 60 copies of the same book are odd. It's their money, but it's just consumerism to me. I don't care if they have slightly different exteriors. It's giving fighting for the Starbucks bear cup vibes to me. Also, authors are not culpable for your choices. If you read a book with BDSM and you go and try it in your personal life and get hurt, that's on you. You have no business disparaging the author or calling the work dangerous. We did discuss this of calling the work dangerous and problematic in my other video that I posted when I talked more shit about romance readers and book talk. I do agree with that statement severely because I love horror. I love horror and thriller and mystery, movies and books. I don't think any piece of media should be censored. And I don't think any author should be held accountable for writing a problematic book, because people nowadays don't know what a problematic book actually is. Like, including a racist character in your novel does not mean that the author is racist. I hear this complaint a lot about Stephen King books. Stephen King books in the 80s. I recently just finished reading it as a whole for the first time, and it's such a wonderful book because he portrays what racism was like in the 80s so beautifully. And I'm planning to record a full video about how much I love the movies, the book, and the new TV series Welcome to Derry. Like, it is so fantastic. And Stephen King puts a lot of focus on racism, violence against women, and a lot of difficult topics to tackle. And I think he does it so wonderfully because having it, I don't know if you know about it, but you know, the clown that kills children, having it as a monster and then putting it right next to, you know, racism and domestic violence and many other terrifying subjects, he makes it really clear that the children would rather face it over and over again than to go back to the systems that hurt them. And once these characters fight and face and defeat it, they feel prepared to go back to the horrors of real life. So it is such a unique perspective. And I know Stephen is not, you know, a black person. He never actually experienced any racism, but he talks about it so often. And I always hear people criticize him like, oh, he's a racist piece of shit. He's problematic. Just because an author is writing characters who experience racism and adding racist characters to their novels to show a theme, to show, you know, some kind of suffering and to highlight something that happens but shouldn't happen. I don't know if you've ever seen the movies. I don't know if you ever read the book, but homophobia as well. It's another thing that he talks about really often. A lot of his characters struggle with it. And the one thing about Derry, I'm already getting ahead of myself here because I plan to put all of this in my it/Derry/Stephen King video that I'm planning. The thing about Derry is the town is cursed with the clown, right? Whenever people see something wrong happening, like kids getting bullied, they don't do anything. They just stand by and watch and don't interfere because they think it's not their problem. And that is Derry's biggest curse. It's not even the fucking clown. And I think it is so wonderful. And people nowadays, authors mostly, have become scared to write about those themes. They've become scared to include racism and homophobia and other really difficult to tackle themes because people are just going to call them problematic, because people somehow have lost their ability to realize that writing about something doesn't mean that you're endorsing it. And that pisses me off to no end. You are responsible for what you read, and you are responsible for how you interpret it, and you are responsible for what you do with it, not the author or the piece of media itself. And as for the consumerism, I am exhausted. I never have willingly clicked on a video where someone is giving me a 60 plus book haul. I am really sorry, because we finally got to a point where everyone is recording these videos at the end of the year now. I have 252 unread books in my house. Let's get through them. And, don't get me wrong, I love those videos. I'm watching every single one of them. But where did we go wrong that you got to a point where you have 235 unread books in your house? If you are a person who reads over 100 books a year and you are confident that you're going to get through them, it's none of my business, but I'm going to judge you. I'm sorry. I'm just going to judge you. And if you are the kind of person that, maybe you own a 5-bedroom home and you have your own personal library, Beauty and the Beast style, and you want to have a bazillion books and you have the space to do it, again, none of my business. I just you do you. I feel like we have reached a point where reading is not the hobby anymore. Consumerism is. And I don't think that goes hand in hand with reading. I really don't. I think that it's such a large contrast, and they don't go together, because reading is supposed to be an activity almost similar to meditation, where you're supposed to slow down. Don't even get me started on people reading like 500 books a year. Again, if you do it, if it's a comfortable pace for you, none of my business. But I don't know. I don't vibe with it. I don't vibe with that idea. That's why I don't do it myself. I've been purposely diminishing the amount of books I read every year, because I want to take my time with the books that I'm reading. I want to actually meditate on the story that I'm going through. I want to focus on different hobbies that I have. I want to give reading a chance to breathe again. I feel like we are suffocating this hobby as much as we possibly can with consumerism, with, reading goals, with capitalism, and with the speed in which we have to be putting out content to, give people 5-second reviews and yes, no, maybe videos and all of those things that annoy me to no end, but I know that they're not going to stop and people love it and it's fine. It's like, I'm just an old grumpy person complaining to nothing, and it's just going to stay that way. And I will add one more thing to that, which is I think that there is such a thing as being codependent on your hobbies, like an unhealthy codependence. The same way that we can't let our brains be silent for a few hours without scrolling on our phones, we are also filling this dread with as many hobbies as we possibly can, and nothing that you do too much of is good for you. We have to allow ourselves to just, exist without having constant stimulation, and just making sure that these hobbies that we love so much, that are good for us, that are wonderful, have a place in time, and that they don't take over our entire lives. And, balance, it's for everything. And also, I believe that the way that you use your money speaks a lot about how you feel about yourself. Even if you're a millionaire, if you're buying 37, 50, 60 books a month just because you can, what is the point? Just to show that you can? Are you targeting to be on the next episode of Hoarders? Like, we have to try to be a little bit more self-reflective and introspective about why we do the things that we do. And reading as a hobby for me helps me do that a lot. Like, why does that book call out to me? Why do I have more fun with this genre than this genre? Why do I feel that this character speaks to me deeply? Why do I see myself in this character? Why do I understand this character? Why do I not understand this character? Reading is one of the most introspective and wonderful and beautiful hobbies to help you get to know yourself. And when I see a person just consuming, and saying, my hobby is buying books, I just don't think that that's funny, really. I just feel bad for you. If you read the books you're buying, then great. But if you're just buying books for the sake of buying books, for the sake of showing that you can buy books, then I just feel sad for you. And that's it. Anyways, was that too harsh? I'm waiting for the day that I'm going to post a video that's going to make or break this channel. I guarantee you, at one point, I'm going to say something that's going to piss a lot of people off, and it's just going to be it for me. And okay, so let's move on to the next one. Impressive Manor 565 said, book talk and book hauls are causing an overconsumption of books. It's on the same chain of what we were talking about. It has made the publishing community to be more about quantity over quality. While I love book talk influencers, they tend to generate less discussion than BookTube. Writers used to have to be good. Now they only need good marketing and a TikTok following. I talk about this a lot when I mention Colleen Hoover, for example. I know everyone hates Colleen Hoover. That woman, I've never seen a woman be so hated. She's apparently problematic and a bad author, and her novels are terrible, and everything she writes is disgusting and whatever. But there's still some people that, watched It Ends With Us and are going to watch Verity. I am one of them, okay? I'm going to watch Verity because I read Verity 30 years ago. There's one thing about Colleen Hoover and all of these other authors that I try to explain to people, which is easy to process, easy to access, easy to get through, easy to read. We are lucky that we are bored by that, because when you look at the literacy rate of the United States of America, most people are at a reading level of a sixth grader. And if Colleen Hoover is the person who's going to get someone who never finished middle school to pick up their first book and finish a book and grow a taste for reading and actually want to keep going and actually want to learn more, then I need Colleen Hoover to exist. Not even rich people read anymore. It used to be sort of like a social, monetary gap. It still kind of works that way because you need a solid income and you need free time. Something has been happening and growing, this snowball, for a really long time. And I don't know exactly when this snowball started rolling, but I know that it's gigantic now with Chat GPT being used at schools. Children don't know how to write essays anymore. Children don't read books. They just read the summary of books to pass, tests at school. It is terrifying. It is scary. And if Colleen Hoover and Fourth Wing are the people writing the popcorn, easy to access, easy to consume novels that are going to get people who don't read into reading, I am all for their existence. But unfortunately, the downside of that is that the people who are lucky and fortunate enough to have a complex reading level and to require more complex writing are going to have to navigate through the mud of what's currently being published. And that's the price we have to pay, I guess. I have hopes and I see a shift in the quality of published writing if we get more people reading. And eventually, these people who are okay with reading Colleen Hoover, if they keep reading, one day they're going to get to the point where they need something more challenging. We just need to incentivize it. Try to get everyone around you to start reading again. Gift your family and friends Fourth Wing, if that's what you must do. Gift your friends and family Verity by Colleen Hoover. Just do it. Moving on to the next one. Pink is in the house says, I think a vast majority of famous book accounts on Instagram and TikTok are paid for their reviews. I think we should call them book influencers, as the books are product placement. I just don't believe they are reading more than 200 books a year, and every new book is the best book they've ever read. I love this comment so much. Some books like Riftborn and Conform, I have something to say about that one, seem to have such a natural surge in interest, with too many people saying it's the best series ever without being able to explain why, especially since they are so new. I don't really care if people love poor quality books, because I do too. I just hate when I feel like it's PR and not genuine enthusiasm. And this right here is the very reason why I believe BookTok and Bookstagram are not useful for me anymore as a reader. I have not gotten a solid BookTok or Bookstagram book recommendation in 3+ years, because whenever I complained about this on Instagram yesterday. Every time I'm scrolling through a video on Instagram Reels and I see someone saying, oh my God, I just found the best book ever, and you're watching through, and then eventually at some point they mention, use my code, whatever, to buy a paperback, or they mention in the comment section below, ad, or they put the very tiny hashtag ad next to their heads to show you that, they're being sponsored to talk about that video. Hey, I know the economy sucks right now. It's hard. We're all struggling. You need to get that bag. I understand. But this is a creative environment. We started as people who were here just because we love to read, and we did our best to create this environment where we could gush about the books that we're reading and find people who love the same characters that we do and feel a little less lonely in this world. And it was a beautiful thing that came out of this beautiful hobby. And I know that that's the whole point of marketing, right? That's how it starts. You need to give it to someone who has a huge platform to throw it out there in the world to see if more people are going to read it, to see if there is a chance of standing on its own. But it does anger me as a normal person online who wants to find someone genuinely talking about a book that they picked up because they wanted to. Someone who is actually showing me their personality. Someone who's actually reviewing something because it truly connected to them. And yeah, unfortunately, I notice people being paid to talk about books more and more often, and I just don't trust reviews anymore. especially because of what this person said. You're telling me you love it, but you can't tell me why. And I know a lot of people are not that great with words. They just love reading, and a lot of people don't know how to express why they love something. But if you're a book content creator with over 150,000 followers, I would expect that that's the one thing you're good at doing, expressing why you love slash hate something. People follow you because people like the way that you talk about books. People follow you because people like the way that you describe what you're reading and get people excited about whatever you're reading, makes them want to read it too. There is no personality involved. They're not showing who they truly are. They hardly ever post negative reviews because they can't piss off the publishers who are going to stop sending them, free copies. And it's just like a shell of an account who just makes sales. It's a salesperson. I'm not here for the salespeople community. I'm here for the book reading community. I feel like everyone who is posting on social media right now is posting because they want to grow an account and get rich, because they want to get free stuff, and because they want to make money. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. They need sponsorships to keep going. If you need, recording videos, editing videos, posting videos takes a lot of time for you to just do it as a hobby. It takes a really long time. And it's the fucking dream, right? For you to turn your hobby into an income, it's insane. It's wonderful and it's beautiful. And I'm really proud of the people who are able to do it without losing their personality and how genuine they are. And if you're actually talking about products you believe in, if you are actually talking about books you read. And then the other thing this person says is, I just don't believe these people are reading 200 plus books a year. I know this is a little bit of a controversial take. It is possible. I know it is possible. Some people feel comfortable listening to audiobooks at 2.5 speed. I know a lot of book content creators do that to get through a book as fast as they possibly can. The other thing is these people have no other hobbies. They don't do anything else. They just read. The other thing we don't think about is some of these people don't have jobs, or maybe their jobs don't require them to be present, or maybe they have remote jobs, or maybe their jobs is to read. I know that there are a lot of people who are limited by their disabilities, and someone with a disability needs some kind of entertainment, and they just tear through books and they read thousands of books a year because that's the one joy they can experience. And I believe in those numbers because of all of those variants. But let's just focus here on the book talk bubble, right? This person does not have a disability. This person does not have a family. This person does not have a job. Maybe they're a teenager, or this person is okay with listening to audiobooks at 2.5 speed. There are a couple of book talk content creators that admitted to just reading the dialogues. That's also a way that they can make that happen. I think in 2020, I read 100 books, and then in 2021, I read 130, and then in 2022, I read like 100 something. So it is possible. It is not the end of the world. I was listening to audiobooks at faster speed than they were supposed to be listened to, in my opinion. And I was rushing through novels, and I was not having the kind of experience that I want to have with reading. The experience that I used to have when I was young, where I would lock myself in my room and read for hours, but still like read the same book for hours and maybe carry the same book around for a couple of weeks and kind of really live with the characters and make sure that I spent enough time with them to the point where I felt like I knew them, to the point where the time that I spent with that same book and with the same characters and with those same pages felt real. I created a deeper connection by not rushing through all the pages, by not rushing through the plot. And the other thing that helped me slow down my reading, which I also adore doing now, is annotating my books. I use see-through post-its so I can write in the margins, and I use highlighters so I can highlight my favorite passages. And that really helps me make sure that I am fully invested in what I'm reading. And I noticed that when I actually take my time with any of my hobbies, whatever hobby it is, my enjoyment is higher. And the review that I can provide to people later is more genuine because I actually know what I'm talking about. Yes, it is possible to read 200 plus books a year. Do I want to read your review for the book that you read in 24 hours? I don't really. I'm so sorry. I've been that person before. I made the mistake of like I read like 800-page books before in 24 hours because I was so excited. It had just come out. And I felt like, again, I was a book content creator. So I had to read it as fast as possible. One, to avoid spoilers, and two, to be the first person at the finish line to give like my review and tell people what I thought. And I feel really sorry for the person that I was. that thought that that was necessary. And I feel really sorry about the opportunities I miss to actually take my time with the books that I love. This is the first week of December, and I have 2 books on my December TBR because it's the holidays. I want to spend time with my family. I want to put my phone down and my book down. I want to go out and do stuff and touch some grass, you know, like, and I also want to read, and I want to be able to find a balance to do all of those things. So if you are looking for the channel who's going to give you, you know, 20 plus books I read this month, I'm not going to be it. But if you want to read slower with me, Meep Poor P Moo said, I'm scared to say this, but most of the book talk influencers are on a moral high ground. Any topic that even suggests a more complex character is rejected by them. In a way, they oversimplify things into good or bad. Books are supposed to instigate you into thinking in a more complex way, and that does not seem to be happening anymore. And I talked about this at length in this video. If you have missed it, you can go watch it over here. We have reached a point of post or mid cancel culture where it makes you look cool if you treat other people like shit by putting other people down and putting yourself up and saying, like, I am so much better than you because I don't read problematic authors. I am so much better than you because I read diversely. I am so much better than you, whatever. It gets to a point where I don't know if you're talking about this problematic author because you actually want to change something or just because you want applause for the fact that you're talking about this problematic author. You just want the applause that you're going to get. Yes, queen, like, yes, queen, for saying that, oh my God, this is so problematic. I'm never going to touch this. I'm never going to buy this. I'm never going to do this or that. I feel like the book community has moved away a long time ago from the holding other people accountable narrative and from the I'm trying to teach you and educate you to I just want to straight up bully you because it's going to make me feel better about myself. Because when you're actually trying to educate someone and you're actually trying to hold someone accountable and when you actually want to see change and experience change and be a part of this change, you're not going to be a complete asshole. But that obviously brings me back to how young this community is and how many teenagers we have online. And sometimes we forget that the people leaving the meanest, most disgusting bullying comments in your comment section for something that is absolutely not relevant, is not going to change anything for anyone, is probably just a 15-year-old who's going through, you know, their hormones and their bodies changing, and they're just, you know, their only outlet is social media because everyone is on social media. And you just got to remember that. You just got to remember that there are certain people that are not worth having an argument with. Anyway, I feel like Reddit is more than okay. Reddit, you did a good job. Thank you so much for providing the content for this video, Reddit. You rock. I am so excited to start 2026 fresh and give you book reviews finally. And I'm really excited to start making reading wrap-up videos. Like, I can't wait to start doing that. If you watched this video all the way until the end, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Tea time out.